Camera is rolling this. Hello and welcome back, all you fabulous, fantastic fighting fantasy aficionados, because it's been a few weeks, but I'm back today with Caverns of the Snow Witch, the sequel. As you may remember, I've had a few runs now of Caverns of the Snow Witch, and it hasn't gone that well. I actually had one more that I haven't got on video because something happened during my recording session and I lost it. So these things happen. So there are a few things that I now know that I have to do and that I have not to do on this next run that I will make sure that I do or not to. That I learned from that other episode that I've never been able to broadcast. So without much further ado, I shall get into it again. And as you can see, it's a bright sunny day, which means I will have to shut out the sun, unfortunately, because it's too bright for me to work like this with all the sun in my eyes. I think it's quite nice as long as I'm not doing anything else. I'm not looking at my screen or in the book. Just to get a bit of sunlight in here. It is that time of year when I get the sun in if I keep my my blinds open. But it's very hard to get any work done because my computer screen is right here in front of the window, which means when the sun is shining, I can't see the screen. So, yes. I'm starting to ramble again. Oh well. Without further ado, let's get back to Caverns of the Snow Witch, Fighting Fantasy book number 9, and it's might be an easy one to get through all the way. I think it actually is easy, but only when you know the right path. If you don't know the right path, it's actually quite tricky, and there are lots of dead ends and traps and places where you can get stuck in a skill test or luck test loop as well, which will definitely kill you if you fail a few times. So I'll see you in a few moments with my desk ready for another playing session of Caverns of the Snow Witch. Ta-da! Right, here we are. This is me getting ready for another episode of Caverns of the Snow Witch. I have played this a few times now, and I think I've got to the stage where I'll just give myself skill 12, stamina 24, and luck 12. And also I will bring a potion of stamina, I think. Potion of stamina. And I am ready to tackle the Snow Witch Caves once more, and I'll just start from the beginning. I will not try to do any kind of quick skipping or anything like that, because it's been a few weeks, and so both for my sake and for yours, I do believe that is the best way to do it. I presume everyone is familiar with the combat system. I may just explain it the first time I have a battle, in case there are any new viewers who probably shouldn't watch this episode anyway, but there you go. You may want to skip the other ones and just go straight for this one. So I'll start with the background story. So, winters in northern Alancia are always cruel and bitter. The snow falls thick and the icy wind blows hard, chilling everybody to the bone. For the past few weeks, you have been hired by a merchant called Big Jim's son to protect his trading caravans as they roll their way slowly north to the frozen outposts. Sounds like I need some more water. My apologies. The horse-drawn carts are laden with cloth, utensils, weapons, salted meat, spices, and tea, which are traded for furs and ivory carvings made from mammoths' tusks. Big Jim is not usually worried about traveling north, as his bandits only attack his caravans on the return journey. He is not alone in recognizing the value of the northern goods. On this particular trip, you are walking ahead of 6 carts across a frozen lake. In the distance, you can see the snow-capped peaks of the Icefinger Mountains jutting out of low cloud. Your destination lies at the base of the mountains, where the Northmen meet to trade. Snow is falling, but not too heavily. You stop to prod the ice with your sword to make sure it can bear the weight of carts, when suddenly the shrill call of a hunting horn breaks the silence. You stand up and run back to the cars to talk to Big Jim. He is sitting next to the driver of the second cart, puffing on the long briar pipe. A huge man with a great bushy beard, Big Jim is obviously a man to be reckoned with. His bright blue eyes scan the horizon, searching for signs of life. In a deep voice he says, "Sounds like it came from the outpost. Reckon you better go and investigate. Could be trouble. And get back quick." You set off straight away towards the outpost at the base of Icefinger Mountains. You arrive 2 hours later at a scene of ugly carnage. The snow is red with blood, and all the wooden huts are smashed and torn down. 6 men lie dead, their bodies slashed, their axes at their sides in the snow. Judging by the size of the footprints, the creature that attacked the outpost must have been enormous. There is nothing you can do for the unfortunate Northman, so you head back towards Big Jim's caravan to report the news. You reach him in an hour, just as the daylight is fading, and relate the terrible events that have befallen the outpost. Big Jim orders the cars to be drawn into a circle to protect his men during the night. A large fire is built into the center of the circle, and you sit down beside it to talk to Big Jim. Everybody is nervous, and a guard is posted to watch for signs of movement outside. In a low voice, Big Jim asks you if you will hunt the terrible creature, for otherwise his business will be ruined forever. You smile and reply that you will track down the beast, but only for a purse of 50 gold pieces. Big Jim's jaw drops open, and it takes a great deal of persuasion before he agrees to your demand. The snow finally stops falling as you settle down for the night. Sleep is a long time coming, for your mind is active with thoughts of the impending hunt. When you wake just after dawn, the fire is reduced to dying embers. Wisps of smoke rise gently into the morning mist, and not a sound is to be heard. You walk over to where Big Jim is sleeping and tap him on the shoulder. He wakes with a start, and you tell him that you are setting off and hope to be back later in the day. Yes, famous last words. You wave to the guard as the snow starts to fall again and make your way back to the outpost. Now turn over. Right, and just a few bits and bobs I need to sort out here. Okay, like so. Right, so last time I was playing this, as you may recall, I had a map on paper. Of course, now I've transferred my map to my computer screen, so I just need to have a view of that here. And I've also made a note of the route that I'm taking that I think is the right one. So let's go. Let's see. So, by the time you reach the outpost again, the bodies are blanketed with snow and the beast's footprints are covered over. The visibility is poor as you set off towards the mountains, where you hope to find the abominable killer beast. The snow on the mountainside is soft, and you sink in up to your knees as you climb slowly up. You soon find yourself at the edge of a crevasse, which is spanned by an ice bridge. If you wish to cross the crevasse by the ice bridge, turn to 335. If you would rather walk around the crevasse, turn to 310. So for those of you who saw my first episode of playing Caverns of the Snow Witch, if you walk around the crevasse, you end up facing a mammoth. And in the first time I played this, the mammoth actually even killed me. So I think I'll walk across the ice bridge. And I'm going to 335. The bridge is quite narrow and very slippery. Test your luck. If you're lucky, turn to 41. If you're unlucky, turn to 389. And of course, I will be lucky now because my luck is 12, which won't last long because there will be lots of luck throws in this one. So my luck is now down to 11. Okay. So I go into 41. You tread carefully over the bridge, safely across the crevasse. You continue your slow trek through the snow. Turn to 212. The wind starts to howl, blowing gusts of snow into your face. You put your head down and stride into it. Above the howl of the wind, you suddenly become aware of another sound, the howling of wolves. You draw your sword while trying to peer through the snow. As if out of nowhere, 2 snow wolves appear in front of you, hunched, ready to pounce. They are completely white except for their blood-red eyes. Suddenly one leaps at you. Fight them one at a time. So, okay, now is our first battle. And also this is a battle where there is a small typo because the order of the stats, if you see that, it should be skill first and stamina second. So I'm sort of been doing the judgment call here that the typo here is that it should have said skill there and stamina there, not the other way around. So I'm saying there that skill 7, both of them stamina 8 and 7, which makes a lot of sense, I think. So it doesn't make a huge difference, but I just have to make a decision on it. So one at a time. So that means I'm starting with fighting a 7-8, and of course I am currently at 12-24. So how the battle works for new viewers is you take your skill. First you roll 2 dice for the opponent, and you add it to his skill, and that's your attack roll. And then you roll 2 dice for yourself and add it to your skill, and that's your attack roll. So I'll just do that now. He rolls a 3, which means his attack roll is 10. And I roll 6, which means my attack roll is 18. Now, whoever's attack roll is the highest is the one that injures his opponent and inflicts 2 damage, or 2 stamina down. If the numbers are equal, then they've sort of been able to parry each other's attack and nobody gets injured. Some battles have special rules. For instance, some you fight 2 at the same time, which means both your opponents get an attack roll and you choose which one you try to injure. And if your attack roll is higher than both of your opponents, then you injure the one you're trying to injure, but you also don't take any damage from the other one. If the one that you are attacking is rolling higher than you, of course he injures you. And if it's equal, then you get no. But you don't. If you beat the opponent that you're not attacking, if you beat their attack roll, you do not injure them. You just don't take any damage from that attack. So, yeah, that wasn't a very good explanation, but it's pretty simple actually. So that was the first combat round. It's also possible to use lock in battles, although I think that is usually not worth it because every time you use lock, your lock goes down. And because you can either reduce the number of points damage to yourself by using luck, or you can increase the number of points damage you inflict by using luck. But luck is so important for other things, I think it's safest just to leave that for now. So there we are. Second combat round. Excuse me. Wolf rolls 5, so that means his combat roll is up to 12, which means he can't actually beat me, but I'll roll anyway. So, and he is down to 4. He rolls a 3. I roll a 9. He's down to 2. He rolls a 7, and I roll a 7, so he is dead. And the second one is a 7. I'll just put that there then. Although, yeah, I should have kept some room for items and things. I'll sort that out. I'll sort that out. He rolls a 12. That's very good. So now I have to roll. Let's see, 5. See, I got a little bit of an injury there. He rolls an 8. I roll a 6. He rolls an 8. I roll a 9. And he rolls a 9. I roll a 7. So he's down to 1 hit point left, if you can call it that. And he is dead. So there we are. I won, and I go to 202. My throat is very dry this morning, so I'll drink some more water. This always happens when I make videos in the morning. Always a bit thirsty. Okay. You step past the still bodies of the wolves and continue your journey through the swirling snow. The climb becomes steeper and the going is slow. Turn to 337. And this is, I think, where the blizzard starts. The snow is beginning to fall very heavily, swirling around in the strong wind. A blizzard is starting. If you wish to use your sword to dig a shelter in the snow, turn to 281. If you would rather press on, turn to 229. Now, if you do press on, which I did very stubbornly the first time I played, after being killed by the mammoth, of course, and starting over, if you stubbornly do press on, you will get injured by the blizzard. You will actually potentially get frostbite and lose skill as well. Although there is a possibility of regaining that afterwards, it still probably is wiser to just dig in right away, because that's where you will end up if you dig in later. You get the option of doing it later, even if you pig-headedly just press on, but do not press on, dig in. So that's one of the first rules of mountain behavior, is to dig a shelter if you are in any kind of doubt about the weather. So you hurriedly cut blocks of ice out of the mountainside and build a makeshift igloo. You crawl into it as the blizzard blows down the mountain with ferocious power. Your body heat is retained inside the igloo and you keep warm. However, you must eat 2 portions of your provisions to regain your strength after the tiring walk and the effort of building the igloo. This does not increase your stamina. So provisions, this is some system that was used in all the early fighting fantasy books. You have 10 provisions to start with, and every time you use one, which you cannot use when you're in combat, but otherwise, I've also sort of usually say if I'm in a position where I'm making choices to do with interaction with a monster or another character, I do not allow myself to use them. If nothing is happening, then you can rest and use provisions. Every time you use 1, you regain 4 stamina, but of course in this case you use 2 and you don't regain any, but that's because you are exhausted. So that's fine. An hour later, the blizzard dies down and you crawl out of your shelter to continue your quest. Turn to 169. Of course, one thing I didn't make a note of on my map is where it was wisest to use my provisions, but I'll just play that by ear now. Right. Underneath an overhanging rock, you see a small wooden hut built against the side of the mountain. Its roof is piled high with snow and long icicles hang down from the window ledges. You see a set of deep footprints leading from the hut up the side of the mountain. If you wish to enter the hut, turn to 36. If you'd rather follow the footprints, turn to 190. I'll go into the hut because that is actually something that will help you. The front door of the hut is frozen shut and you have to batter it with your shoulder to open it. There is only one room inside the hut containing the belongings of a fur trapper. Traps, furs and sacks are stacked in a corner of the room. A wooden bed, a table and chair, and some cooking utensils show signs of recent use. And the ashes in the fire are still warm. If you wish to put some logs on the fire and warm up the cold stew in one of the pans, turn to 118. If you'd rather leave the hut and continue your quest, turn to 192. Now, of course, I have lost stamina now, which means that heating up the stew and eating it will regain me some. So I will do that. I will go to 118. If I hadn't lost any stamina now, there wouldn't be any point, really. The fire is soon roaring and crackling in the hearth. The heat of the flames radiates through your body and you revel in the warmth. The stew is delicious and you feel your strength returning. Add 3 stamina points, which brings me back up to 24. Actually, I forgot to move it down to 22, which is very easy to do. Of course, it can never go above the maximum. With renewed energy, you decide to leave the hut to continue your quest. Turn to 192. As you are about to leave the hut, you catch sight of some weapons lying under the bed. If you wish to take a couple of them with you, turn to 255. If you do not wish to be encumbered by the additional weight and would rather leave without the weapons, turn to 263. So I will pick up some weapons because at least one of them gives me an advantage. And the other one is not so important if you follow the best route. And you take a warhammer and a spear before leaving the hut. So I've now got, let's just put that up here. Warhammer and spear. Turn to 263. Now, some of you might have noticed I'm using a different camera today. And the reason is last time when my video didn't end up working so well, it was a problem with the recording. So I'm actually just trying to use my regular camera today rather than my webcam. Now, the disadvantage of that is that I have to stop it and start it, or it will stop itself every half hour because of limitations on recording time on a stills camera. Very annoying, but that's just the way it is. It's some kind of EU regulation. To do with, I suppose, a kind of duty on video cameras as opposed to stills cameras, which is very silly, actually. I mean, I think almost everyone who had a stills camera with video capabilities would have wanted them to last longer than half an hour and would rather actually pay a little bit extra for that privilege. But this is the choice they've made, and we don't like it. So it's a bit of rubbish because, especially for long videos like this, and of course this will be a long one, a few hours probably, it doesn't make any sense to have the limitation. It just gets annoying. You have to do all the little clips, put them together and resync the sound for every single one, and it's a hassle. I've got a solution for that. Hopefully that should be in the mail in a few days, which will allow me to use my stills camera now as a almost like a webcam, and record straight to the computer. For now, I'm recording on the camera itself, and it has that limitation. So just so you're aware, if suddenly there are any strange cuts, as viewers of my channel, you know that I really don't like jump cuts of any kind, and I would rather avoid them if I can. Right. Yes, there we are. 263. Outside again in the deep snow, you set off on your trek up the mountainside, following the footprints in the snow. Turn to 190. Let's see, 190. And also, I need to scroll my map on my screen a little bit. There we are. Right. High altitude and thin atmosphere make you pant for breath as you continue your steady climb. Lose 1 stamina point. Down to 23. And I'm not sure if you can hear that, but that's the washing machine, in case you wondered what that noise was. Oh, and that was a mail coming as well. Suddenly you hear the cry of a human voice, followed by a ferocious roar. Not far ahead, you see a fur trapper fighting for his life against a gigantic bear-like beast with long white fur and sharp teeth protruding from its jaws. It is a killer beast that you have been hunting, the abominable Yeti. You watch the unfortunate trapper being gashed by the Yeti's claws and falling face down in the snow. Incensed by the vicious attack, you scream at the Yeti and run through the snow to attack it. And it's quite a ferocious-looking one, and this is also... one thing I keep pointing out about this particular book is I really like the art style in it. It's absolutely amazing because it's almost like a sort of a woodcut kind of look to it, which I really think it's really amazing. And it's quite different to any others, I think, in the series as well. I do believe that the artists here, they only did this one. This is illustrations by Gary Ward and Edward Crosby, who together actually made the art. They discussed how to do the compositions and what the different plates were going to be, and then one of them did sort of most of the main sketching, and the other did most of the main inking in as well. So it's absolutely amazing artwork, and yes, very good, very well done, guys. And I haven't checked actually, but last time I was on eBay, I saw there were actually some of the original drawings from this very book were actually for sale on eBay, at a few weeks ago. Anyway, I'm not sure if they're still there, so might be worth a look if anyone is interested. It wouldn't be very easy to get original artwork from these books very often, so for anyone who's a really die-hard fan, that's an opportunity not to be missed. Right. So yes, attacking it. So I am going to 77. Sorry about all the rambling now. I'm just sometimes I just have to talk a little bit outside of the book as well. Are you carrying a spear? If you are, turn to 391. So I am carrying a spear because I picked up the Warhammer and spear. Although I will actually say something about a Warhammer later, because I think I will just ignore that I have it. You don't actually get a choice of picking it up or not, and there's a wording in a later paragraph that doesn't actually technically give you a choice of using it or not, but I will just make a command decision, so, as it were, and say that I'm choosing not to use it later and pretending I don't have it, or one of those. I will get back to that in a bit. Now, 391. If you have frostbite in your sword arm, which could have happened if you kept going into the blizzard, I do not have that, so I'm going to 249. Gripping the shaft tightly, you pull back your arm and hurl the spear at the snarling yeti. Roll 1 die. Let's see, I roll a 1 again. I think that's a miss, actually. Turn to 157. I think I rolled a 1 last time as well, didn't I? The shaft is icy and it slips from your grip as you release it. The spear misses the yeti, plummeting harmlessly into the snow. Turn to 378. Now, see, the thing is, if you do hit the yeti with a spear, both his skill and his stamina is actually reduced, which means your next battle will be so much easier. But I will go with this one. And the thing is, if I do die in this one, I'll just sort of put up a die count rather than giving up, because I do think I'm sort of close to finding the right path to the end now. You draw your sword and lunge at a huge white beast. And there we are. Yeti 11, 12. It's pretty good stats. So 11, 12. And I am currently 12, 23. So this could be a hard battle. I mean, I did get killed by a mammoth the first time, which was quite strong, but yeah, something similar, I think. So the Yeti rolls 4. I rolled a 6, which means I get first blood. And he's down to 10. He rolls a 3. I rolled a 12. I would have liked a little critical system where you did more, injured someone more when you rolled a 12. That would have been nice. He rolls a 6. I rolled an 11, so he's down to 6. He rolls a 5. I rolled a 3, so that is me getting a little bit injured as well. He rolls a 6. I rolled a 9. He is down to 4 hit points. He rolls an 8. I roll a 10. He's down to 2. He rolls a 5. I need a 6. No, I need a 4 or more. And there we are. And he is dead. So that actually went rather well, I would say. Yes, so I've won that, and I go to 67. And there we are. Do I have a long left on my thing? Yes. You kneel down beside the fur trapper and turn him over slowly. His eyes are barely open and blood trickles down from the corner of his mouth. The Yeti has gouged deep wounds in his chest, and you realize that there is no hope of saving him. With a great effort, he reaches up and grabs you round the neck, pulling you down so that you can hear his dying words. He thanks you for trying to save him and insists on telling you his secret. In terrible pain, he struggles to whisper his story. He tells you that he has lived in the mountains for most of his life, hunting animals and trading their furs, but for the last 5 years he has been searching for the legendary crystal caves. These caves have been cut out of a glacier by the followers of the Snow Witch, a beautiful yet evil sorceress who is trying to use her dark powers to bring on an ice age so that she can rule supreme over the whole world. The entrance to the crystal caves is high up in this very mountain. It is open but hidden by an illusion. The unfortunate fur trapper found it by accident only yesterday when he saw one of the Snow Witch's warriors seemingly walk straight through an ice wall and disappear. The trapper left a piece of fur hanging over the entrance so that he could find it again the next day. Sadly, the Yeti has put an end to his hopes. He asks you to enter the caves to slay the vile Snow Witch and leave her followers without their leader. There are legends about great treasures being frozen into the wall of the Snow Witch's lair, which would provide ample reward. The fur trapper suddenly grips you hard and then falls back silently into the snow. He's dead. You cover him with snow before deciding what to do. 50 gold pieces await you if you return with evidence of the Yeti's death to Big Jim's son, but the thought of a quest through the crystal caves beneath Icefinger Mountains excites you, and you decide to set off to find them. Turn to 25, and this is where I will have a little break while the camera needs to start over again. So I'll be back in 2 seconds. Right. So, let's see. So I'm turning to 25. Now, this is one thing I don't like about this character, about the protagonist, the hero of the story, so to speak, is his motivation seems to be almost purely money, and I don't like that. So I'm just ignoring a little bit of the treasure later because I just don't like it. I don't like being obsessed with money. I want to do this to save the world and actually be a hero. Right. Now that the snow has stopped falling, the sky is clear and blue. The air is cold and crisp, and the snow crunches beneath your feet. Slowly you make your way up the mountainside, looking for the cave entrance marker left by the fur trapper. Suddenly you hear a distant rumbling from above, the terrifying sound of an avalanche. Test your luck. So my luck is now 11, and I need to roll 11 or less, and I roll snake eyes. So there we are, luck down to 10. 163. There are lots of luck rolls in this book, and on my previous playthroughs I've actually used the Potion of Fortune because it does help you quite a bit with that. But I found that if you do choose what seems to be the right path, there are fewer luck rolls actually. So yes. You look up to see great cascades of snow tumbling down the mountain. Fortunately, the avalanche sweeps down a ridge adjacent to the one you are climbing. Turn to 363. You make your way slowly up the mountain until you reach a rock face that is too steep to climb. You walk round the side until you see a massive wall of ice which completely blocks a gully between two peaks of the mountain, the glacier. Your heart leaps as you catch sight of the piece of fur left hanging on the wall of ice by the trapper. Although you cannot see the entrance, you walk straight ahead. You shut your eyes as you think you are about to walk into the wall of ice, but you walk straight through the illusion and find yourself inside a long tunnel carved into the ice. You walk down it and soon arrive at a T-junction. If you wish to turn left, turn to 395. If you wish to turn right, turn to 215. Excuse me. And I think in this case, if I remember correctly, I am turning right. Let's see. Yes, I'm turning right. As is very often the case in these stories, one of the directions you can go in is you go there and then you can go back again, but then something is there that might be useful or it might kill you as well. In this case, it's useful. The tunnel opens out into a small cavern which is empty apart from a brass bowl resting on top of an iced plinth. The bowl contains a yellow liquid and a wooden ladle. If you wish to drink some of the liquid, turn to 24. If you would rather walk back out of the cavern without drinking the liquid, turn to 56. So I'm going to drink some of that liquid, because I know that's good for me. The liquid sends a glow through your body and you feel wonderfully warm. You have swallowed a potion made by the Snow Witch that keeps her followers from feeling the cold. And 3 stamina points, so my stamina is now back to 24 again. The potion also cures frostbite. Any skill points that you may have lost because of frostbite are now restored. So this is if you went through the blizzard and you got frostbite, this will be cured here if you make sure that you turn right. With renewed vigor, you walk back out of the cavern. Turn to 56, so that's just back where I came from, and back to past the T-junction again. You walk past the entrance tunnel on your left and continue on down the main tunnel. Turn to 395. And this is where we see the tunnel bends round to the right. As you turn the corner, you almost bump into a tall, pale-skinned humanoid coming the other way. He is wearing a white cloak with a hood pulled over his head. He is a mountain elf, one of the Snow Witch's followers. Will you nod your head at him and walk by nonchalantly? Tell him you have come to join the Snow Witch's followers, or attack him with your sword. I will tell him I have come to join the Snow Witch's followers. 274. The mountain elf looks at you in disbelief and says, "Nobody of good heart would wish to join the Snow Witch. I'm only here because of this." Throwing back his hood, the elf reveals a metal collar around his neck which glows in the semi-darkness. "Only the obedience collar makes me serve her," he continues in a dour voice. I didn't really do a dour voice, did I? If you wish to reiterate your desire to join the Snow Witch, turn to 22. If you'd rather change your story and tell the elf that you intend to slay her, turn to 264. Now I will change my story because he is keen to have her dead as well. The mountain elf looks at you and smiles. "Now you're talking," he says. "Kill her and free us. Here, take my cloak to disguise yourself and follow this tunnel until it branches. Take the right-hand fork. Good luck." You shake the elf's hand and run off down the tunnel. Turn to 136. Now, of course, you do get to some of the same places if you didn't talk to the elf as you do without, but I think there are different paragraph numbers for some of them, so it's slightly different course of events, and I think you actually do need to talk to him to win the game. I'm not 100% sure. In any case, it's easier, so that is the correct path. So 136, right. You soon arrive at the fork in the tunnel that the mountain elf mentioned, and, deciding to take his advice, you would enter the tunnel to your right. Turn to 106. There we are, 106. Now, this is another nice drawing there. Further ahead in the left-hand wall of the tunnel, you see a gap. You walk up to it and peer around to see a cave in which a Neanderthal is stripping the skin off a moose, making it ready for the large simmering stew pot behind him. He is working very slowly and is being yelled at by the gnome cook, who is wearing a white apron and waving a wooden spoon in the air. If you wish to enter the crude kitchen, turn to 95. If you would rather creep past the entrance, turn to 267. Now, one of the times I played, I actually just crept past. But the thing about this story is that a lot of the things you need to find to complete it are, there aren't that many rooms that you actually go and look into. And so many of them actually do contain things that you need. So in this case, you do actually have to go in to find some essential items. So I'm going to 95. The gnome runs up to you and shouts, "Get out! Dinner will not be ready for another 2 hours. You'll hear the bell. Mind you, you look a little worse for wear, so you can have this stale cake if you wish." The gnome points at the piece of cake lying on the table. If you wish to take the cake and leave, turn to 290. If you would rather attack the Snow Witch's servants, turn to 187. I'm getting a bit sniffly now. Okay. So let's see. Need to move my map a little bit now. Right, there we are. So if you take the cake, you get some stamina back, but you actually leave the kitchen, so you can't get the items there. So you do have to attack them. So I would attack them, and I go to 187. Okay, there we are. As you draw your sword, the gnome yells an order to the dull-witted Neanderthal, telling him to kill you. The Neanderthal grunts and stands up, pushing the table away from him. He picks up a carving knife and a stool as a shield and lumbers forward to attack. So he is 7-8. I am currently at 12-24 again. So he attacks and rolls a 10. I roll an 11, so I got him there. He rolls a 12. Oh my. I rolled a 10, so that is still me beating him. He rolls a 7. I roll a 6. He is down to 2 hit points. He rolls a 6, and I roll a 6, and he is dead. That's how the Neanderthals got extinct. Killed by modern man. Right. If you win, turn to 179. The gnome does not want to end up like the Neanderthal and runs out of the cave shouting for help. If you wish to search through the cupboards and risk the gnome returning with reinforcements, turn to 194. If you would rather leave the cave immediately, turning left into the tunnel, turn to 198. I will, of course, search the cupboards. That's where the interesting stuff is. The cupboards are full of pots, pans, bowls, and spoons. One cupboard is locked and you have to prise it open with your sword. It contains the gnome's personal possessions. A silver flute, a rune-carved wooden stick painted with blue, and yellow hoops. An old withered rose and an old leather-bound book entitled The Secrets of Toads. And now there was a certain order I think that one would want to do this in. Maybe I will... Yes. I will start by reading the book. So I'm going to 356. Flicking up the clasp which keeps the book shut, a tiny hidden needle grazes your finger. There is poison on its tip to trap unwary thieves. Lose 4 stamina points. If you're still alive, you may open the book, turn to 97. So I'm turning to 97. There is no writing in the book, just a recess cut in the pages which holds a talisman on a golden chain. The talisman is a jade frog. If you wish to put the chain around your neck, turn to 327. If you prefer to leave it in the book, you may, if you have not done so already, etc. I'm just going to put that on. This is one of those circular things where you can do things in whatever order you choose. So I'm not going to read everything in every single paragraph necessarily. You're now wearing an amulet of courage. Add 2 skill points. So I haven't lost any skills, so amulet of courage. It's one of those items that last time I played, I think I was sort of puzzling a bit about where it was because I thought I had explored everything in this part of the dungeon, but I hadn't. Actually, there's one thing I missed, and that was checking out that book. Right, so what am I doing next? I am... I can do the rune stick next. So that's 345. Essential item again. Your knowledge of runes is limited and you put the stick in your backpack, hoping to decipher it later. If you have not done so already, you may blow the flute, smell the rose, or read the book. So I'm going to smell the rose because roses smell nice. Despite being withered, the rose smells fresh and fragrant. As you inhale, you feel as though you are breathing new life into your lungs. Add 3 stamina points, and this is why I did it after reading the book, because now I regain some of the stamina I lost reading the book, or opening the book rather. And the flute is not important, and so did I put rune stick on my list of items? And I think that's me, and I'm leaving the cave 198. So no, the flute is a red herring, by the way. It's one of those things that they try to the book tries to trick you into believing that you can get past the cultists and followers of the Snow Witch by pretending that you're going to play the flute for the witch. Always causes trouble if you do that. In the distance you hear chanting voices. Before long the tunnel ends at the entrance to a large cavern. Kneeling down before an ice effigy in the shape of a demon, their hooded faces pressed to the ice floor in worship, are 10 of the Snow Witch's followers. There are 2 exits from the cave. one to your left, and one to your right. If you are wearing a cloak, turn to 384. If you're not wearing a cloak, so I'm wearing a cloak. I got the, I didn't make a note of that, but I got the white cloak of the mountain elf. So I'm going to 384. You pull down the hood of your cloak as far as possible and walk towards the tunnel exit on your right. Test your luck. So I'm down to 10 on luck now, and I rolled a 4, so I'm still being lucky. Down to 295. If you're not lucky, you have to fight the ice demon. None of the worshippers suspects that you are an intruder, and you are able to walk through that temple without trouble into the other tunnel. Turn to 137. C37. The tunnel ends quite soon at a T-junction. To your left, you can hear cries for help. If you wish to turn left, turn to 311. I am going to turn left and help because this is another essential item, I think. Or certainly one that will make it a lot easier to survive later. The tunnel ends at the edge of a pit, out of which a dwarf is trying to climb, but it keeps on slipping back. The floor of the pit is covered with large ice boulders which have crashed down from a shaft above the pit. One lands on the dwarf's shoulders, and you hear wild cheers from the top of the shaft as he tumbles onto the floor. The dwarf sees you and shouts, "Curse you, stranger, if you do not aid me. I see that you are not wearing a collar." If you wish to help the dwarf out of the pit, under 376. I suppose I should have done the dialogue for the dwarf in a Scottish accent, because dwarfs, they always get Scottish accents, don't they, in movies? What's that about, anyway? I'm going to help the dwarf out of the pit, and I'm going to go to 376. My dwarves, they're not Scottish. They're just normal English speakers. You lie down and lean over the edge of the pit and tell the dwarf to grab your arm. Much to the annoyance of the spectators above, the dwarf escapes from the pit. You run together back to the junction where the dwarf turns right. You tell the dwarf that you intend to carry straight on to find the Snow Witch, as turning right will lead you back to the Hall of Worship. The dwarf tells you that he must escape quickly and return to his village now that he is free. He thanks you for helping him and hands you a leather bag, then runs off. But before he disappears, he turns and shouts, "Beware the white rat." Beware the white rat. Yeah, no, it doesn't really work. You open the leather bag and find a sling and 3 iron balls. You pack them away and set off along the tunnel. So sling and I got the white rat thing is, yeah, I'll get to that when we get to that point. Right, so I'm going to turn to 125. The tunnel through the glacier soon leads into the mountainside itself, and the walls change from ice to bare rock. You enter a large cavern which has 3 other exits leading from it, one to your left, one to your right, and the main one carved as a giant skull lying directly opposite. As you enter, an ugly robed man steps out of the mouth of the skull, holding a glass prism in his outstretched hands. He commands you to turn back, as only the Snow Witch's personal servants are allowed inside the mountain. If you have a magic flute, you may wish to tell him that you have been asked to come and play it for the Snow Witch, red herring, or you may attack him with your sword. So I will obviously attack him with my sword after I have just moved my map a little bit on my screen. There we are. And I'm going to go to 156. And I've got 12 minutes left on my current clip. Okay, that's fine. The ugly man sneers as you draw your sword. He rubs the prism and suddenly 3 identical images of himself appear. They walk towards you. Each one has a dagger raised in his right hand. 2 of the images must be illusions, but which will you strike with your sword? So the first 2 playthroughs, I got past this point. I attacked the one on the left, I attacked the one in the middle, and they were both wrong, so it is the one on the right. So I'm going to go to 232. The illusionist screams in pain as your sword cuts into his hide. He drops to the floor as his other 2 images fade away. As you step over him, he starts to laugh and stands up, his wound completely healed. If you wish to thrust your sword at him again, turn to 261. If you wish to try to smash his prism, turn to 72. I think this is a place where there's a sort of an potential endless loop as well, and not here, but let's see, which one is it now? Yeah, if you attack one of the left or the right one, and there's a luck test, and if you're unlucky, you test your luck again, and then you can actually go into an infinite loop until your luck goes to 0, and basically you can't get anywhere. Anyway, I did this, and I'm going to smash the prism. I'm going to go to 72. You pretend to give up the fight and then suddenly leap at the illusionist, catching him momentarily off guard. You manage to snatch the prism out of his hands and throw it onto the floor. It shatters into tiny pieces, and the illusionist turns and flees into the skull mouth, screaming at the top of his voice. Smoke rises from the shattered fragments of the prism and forms itself into the shape of a bald fat man, a genie. Hovering in mid-air, he bows and thanks you for releasing him. He tells you that if you call on him, he will make you invisible, just once, as a token of his gratitude. Without saying another word, the image shimmers and disappears. So that's very useful, becoming invisible. And there's one place in the book where you can use it, and I'll get to that soon. So right, now the tunnel to the left and to the right are both sort of traps now, and it's possible to actually die and have one of the insta-deaths or insta-ends to this book in those tunnels. I'm going to go with the tunnel in the middle, the skull mouth, 288. The tunnel soon leads into another cabin where you see a huge white-bearded man wearing white furs lifting a wooden chest onto a high shelf. He is a frost giant. There is only one other exit out of his lair, via a tunnel in the opposite wall. If you wish to run through his lair into the tunnel opposite, turn to 243. If you wish to attack him, turn to 112. And now it just occurred to me that maybe I don't actually need to beat him. Oh yeah, well, yes, I should, because yeah, I just thought, because yeah, I'll say something about it when I get to it. So I wish to attack him, and I go to 112. If you have a sling and wish to use it, turn to 373. I have a sling and I do wish to use it. You place an iron ball in the sling and twirl it around your head before releasing it at the frost giant. Roll 2 dice, and that is a skill check against 12, which means I will automatically get that one. So I'm turning to 12. Okay. The iron ball flies through the air and hits the frost giant on the temple. His huge frame crumples to the floor like a house of cards. The wooden chest he was lifting breaks open, spilling its contents. You find 3 ornate rings and a cracked bottle which emits a sweet scented odor. If you wish to try on any of the rings, turn to 65. If you'd rather walk through to the next tunnel, turn to 338. I'm going to try the rings because that is the main reason you want to get rid of the giant. Having rubbed the bottle and sniffed your fingers, you decide that it is only perfume inside. You examine the 3 rings and decide which one to put on your finger. Gold ring, silver ring, or copper ring. So I know the silver ring is a bad one, but the gold and copper are good. So I'm going to go with the gold one. You're now wearing a magic ring which will enable its wearer to resist the effects of freezing cold. At 1 luck point, this is why I don't actually need the resistance to cold, because you only need that if you are fighting the white dragon, which you want to avoid. And there's a way to avoid fighting it at all. Even though it's quite an exciting battle, it almost seems a shame to miss it. But maybe I'll see if I just do the battle anyway, I'll show you what happens. Right. So silver ring or copper ring. So I'm going to go with the copper ring, and also that is because the copper ring. You are now wearing a magic ring which has the power to summon a warrior to your aid once only at 1 luck point. So that is actually something that can also help you in the battle against the dragon. But the main reason I'm picking these up now is because I want the 2 luck points, because that is more useful to me at the moment. Right, let's see. Yes. Not putting on the silver ring because that's a bad choice, and I'm going to walk through the next tunnel and go to 338. Right, there we are. You soon arrive at a crossroads in the tunnel. However, you have no time to examine the left and right branches, as a strange humanoid is advancing towards you from straight ahead. Turn to 59, and this is one of the illustrations, the original of which is available on eBay, or was available on eBay a few weeks ago. So, very nice drawing. Before you stands a crystal warrior, one of the Snow Witch's personal guardians who has been sent to deal with you. He is made of quartz, which has been animated by the Snow Witch's sorcery. Edged weapons will not harm the crystal warrior. Your sword is useless. If you possess a warhammer, you may succeed in smashing the crystal warrior to pieces. So this is where I'm doing, it says if you do not possess a warhammer, turn to 2. If you win, turn to 148. So it sort of assumes that you will want to use the warhammer, but, and this is a big but, I'm actually saying that I didn't pick up the warhammer, or I picked it up but I do not want to use it, because there is a secret option B. So I'm going to go to 2. Let's see, after I've just, yes. If you rescued the genie from the prism, you may call on him now. That's important. If you did not rescue the genie, you have no defense against the crushing blows of the crystal warrior, and your quest is over. So this is actually, I think this is a little typo in the way the story is being presented now, because you do really want to have the option of not using the hammer so you can use a genie, I think. So there should have been a different wording saying that, do you wish to use the warhammer, yes or no? If you have one and wish to use it, yes, go to this one. If you don't have one or don't wish to use it, go to paragraph 2. So I think that's how it should have been worded. So I'm actually considering that a typo in the book. If you rescue the genie from the prison, you may call on him now. Turn to 14. The genie appears hovering above the crystal warrior. He snaps his fingers and you immediately become invisible. The crystal warrior punches the air with his rough quartz fists, but you are able to slip by him unnoticed. By the time the invisibility spell wears off, you are well away from your adversary. Further on, the tunnel ends at the T-junction. Wish to go left, 150, or right, 368. Which am I going now? I am going... I'm going right, of course. If you turn left too soon here, you will become food for the dragon, potentially. The tunnel ends at the wooden door, which is locked. You press your ear to it and hear the sound of feet slowly shuffling across the floor. If you wish to knock on the door, turn to 83. If you would rather return to the junction and head straight on, turn to 150. So you're given an option of turning back. Don't take it. Turn to 83. A man comes to the door. His skin is a sickly grey-white color. His vacant eyes and slow movements are definitely those of a mindless zombie. If you wish to attack him, turn to 62. If you wish to run back to the junction and head straight on, turn to 150. So again, you're given a chance of going back. Do not take it, because you will be in trouble if you do. So I'm going to attack him after a short break. So 62 is my next paragraph. I'll just make a note of that, 62. And I'll be back in a few moments. Right. 62. The zombie picks up a club from behind the door and shuffles forward to fight you. Skill 6. Stamina 6. I've got 1224. 1223, rather. Right, zombie rolls 4, I roll 6, he's down to 4. The zombie rolls 8, I roll 6, he's down to 2 hit points. The zombie rolls 8, I roll 8. The zombie is dead, or even deader, more dead, deadest, completely dead. Yes. If you win, turn to 200. You may. Oh yes. Also, you may escape after 2 attack rounds by running back to the junction, which is another way to get back and avoid picking up the important items. I will make it easier for you. So Ian Livingstone is really trying to red herring you to go back to the other place, because it would be a shame to miss the White Dragon. Actually, it's such a lovely, lovely encounter. I'll show it to you. The zombie was probably in charge of the storeroom that the door opens into. Jars and bottles of various shapes and sizes line the walls, and many boxes and barrels are stacked up on the floor. You search quickly through them and find little of interest, except for a jar of ground minotaur horn, some garlic, a box full of teeth, a jar of pickled lizard's tails, and 4 large dragon eggs. As you will not be able to fit everything into your backpack, you may only take 3 of the items. So, 3 of those items, that is garlic, minotaur horn, and dragon eggs. And those are actually the only items that are useful. This is a bit strange, because usually when you have a sort of a shopping list place where you can pick up things, usually you have the option of picking up one thing that's useless as well. But in this case, you don't need all 3, but if you have all 3, they will make your life a lot easier. So now I'm finally going back to 150, which is what Ian Livingstone has been trying to make you do for a long time now. The tunnel ends at a wooden door, which opens when you turn the handle. That's how handles work. You walk into a massive high-ceiling chamber, which ends in a wall of ice. In the center of the chamber is an open marble sarcophagus with its lid propped up against its side. A white rat suddenly jumps out of the sarcophagus and runs towards you. It stops in front of you and starts to grow and change shape. If you possess any ground minotaur horn, turn to 52. If you do not, turn to 223. So, in this case, I do have minotaur horn, but just to show you what happens if you don't, I'm going to go to 223 now. The creature soon towers above you and develops a rough white reptilian skin. Its neck extends to support a giant head with smoking nostrils, and wings protrude from its back. Before you stands an ancient white dragon. If you're wearing a copper ring, turn to 313. If not, you must fight the mighty beast as you stand. So this is quite a lovely picture. Now, if you had the copper ring, if you recall, that is the one that summons the fighter to fight for you. So, of course, if you use that, you will actually stand a bigger chance of surviving. Because this guy's got a skill of 12 and stamina 14. That's quite good. And also, in addition to its normal attack, throw 1 die every attack round for its freezing cold breath, unless you're wearing a gold ring. A roll of 1 or 2 will reduce your stamina score by a further 2 points. A roll of 3 to 6 will mean the icy blast misses you. So if you don't have the gold ring and you don't have the copper ring, you're basically screwed. So, yeah. And looks like a very nice guy. That's a lovely picture of a dragon. Very menacing. But, fortunately, that's all hypothetical, because I do have minotaur horn. And I'm going to paragraph 52 instead. Aha. Right. You remember an old legend that ground minotaur horn is the only substance that can stop a metamorphosis spell from working. You quickly sprinkle some on the growing creature and relax a little as it shrinks back to a white rat again. The legend was true. Intrigued by the open sarcophagus, you decide to walk over and examine it. Turn to 297. As you approach the sarcophagus, a woman's eerie laughter echoes round the chamber. A beautiful woman wearing white fur slowly rises out of the sarcophagus, and when she smiles, you see the telltale fangs and realize with horror that the Snow Witch is a vampire. If you have some garlic, turn to 210. If you do not have any garlic, turn to 60. I do have some garlic. I've been in the larder, got some garlic. The Snow Witch recoils from the garlic, giving you time to think. You know that a vampire can only be killed by driving a stake through its heart. If you possess a carved rune stick, turn to 34. And that's also another item I didn't. The first time I met the Snow Witch, I didn't have the stick, so That's another item I was looking for before I realized you could raid the kitchen. Taking the stick from your backpack, you thrust it at the heart of the Snow Witch. If you... Excuse me. Right, so I got a bit distracted there. Let's see, where was I? I was... let's see, I have to find my way back again now. So, 200... Right. The Snow Witch recoils from the garlic, giving you time to think. You know that a vampire can only be killed by driving a stake through its heart. If you possess a carved rune stick, turn to 34. I do. So, let's see. Taking the stick from your backpack, you thrust it at the heart of the Snow Witch. If your skill is higher than 10, turn to 4. If skill is 10 or less, turn to 123. Now, this is where skill becomes really important. In fact, I think this book is, again, I think just like the others I've played, skill is the most important attribute. And if your skill is too low, your chances of winning the game are reduced significantly. So, yes. So my skill is definitely higher than 10, so I'm going to 4. Now, if your skill is lower than 10, I do believe that you have to actually test for luck as well to see if you manage to pierce the Snow Witch's heart. The stake pierces the Snow Witch's heart, and her death wail makes you shudder. She starts to decompose, and soon all that is left is a pile of dust on the floor. You see a vague shape on the wall of ice at the end of the chamber and decide to investigate. Turn to 235. Okay. 235. You see frozen into the ice wall an ornate trunk, open and filled with golden jewels. You hack away at the ice until you reach the trunk. A golden idol is the first thing you pick up, but suddenly it bursts out of your hands and changes into a golden warrior, a sentinel left to guard the treasure. So there we are. Combat straight away. I got 12, 23 is 9, 9. I should write that in a different order, but 9, 9. Okay. So he rolls a 7. I roll an 11, so he's down to 7 hit points. He rolls an 11. I roll a 3. That's me down to 21. He rolls a 5. I roll a 9. He is down to 5 points. He rolls an 8. I roll a 4. So I'm down to 19. He rolls a 7. I roll a 7. He is down to 3. He rolls a 4. I roll a 3. That is still him getting hit. And he rolls a 6. I roll a 6. And he is dead. And I've got 19 stamina left. No big deal. So I win, turn to 171. I think this might be a good chance to eat some provisions, but I'll have a look at that after this paragraph. The guardian of the Snow Witch's treasure is dead, and you are free to help yourself to her riches. Although there is a limit to how much you can carry. You decide to fill your backpack with gold pieces, and you count 600 in all. However, for each 50 you take, you will have to remove one item from your backpack and leave it behind. So what can I leave behind? Minotaur horn, garlic. Do I need a sling again? I can't remember now. Yes, I do need a sling again. Rune snake and spear. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I suppose there are 5 items I can do without. So yeah. So 250 gold. Not that it matters. I'm not after the gold. I want to save the world from an ice age. Who doesn't? Right. Just as you finish filling your backpack, you hear the sound of running feet coming down the tunnel towards the chamber. You stand up and draw your sword, wondering if you... I suppose that's another thing. If you actually go some of the... if you don't take the straight route to this place, you will actually have been able to pick up more items. Even though of course, you might get more injured, you will actually end up with more gold. So I suppose that's an interesting little twist about this one, if you're after the gold. So, yes, sorry. Just as you finish filling your backpack, you hear the sound of running feet coming down the tunnel towards the chamber. You stand up and draw your sword, wondering if you can survive much more hard combat. Well, yeah, of course. Two men suddenly appear at the door, a dwarf and an elf, but they do not look as though they are about to attack you. They are smiling broadly, and they both try to speak at once. The elf finally taking command. "You've killed her. We are free. We will soon be able to take over our obedience collars. Now we wish to repay you, friend, by helping you to escape. You cannot leave the caverns by the way you came, because the Snow Witch's followers are waiting for you." But I thought the followers were just the obedience collars. Oh, never mind. And the tunnels are alive with goblins. Our fellow elves and dwarves are battling against them now to give you time to flee. We must waste no more time. To your surprise, the elf walks straight towards the cavern wall opposite the door and appears to pass right through it. Another of the Snow Witch's illusions, comments the dwarf, an escape route she never got the chance to use. The trouble is, we've never used it either. The dwarf laughs to himself and walks towards the wall, you following behind. Walking through the illusion, you find yourself in a narrow torchlit tunnel, which you walk down in single file. It soon ends at a junction, and you discuss which way to turn. If you wish to turn left, turn to 61. If you'd rather turn right, turn to 388. Now, which one is it now I'm supposed to go? I think I'm right. From my last playthrough, I think this going left is the best thing to do. Here we are. As you walk along, the elf introduces himself. "My name is Red Swift, and he is known as Stub," he says, pointing to the smiling dwarf. "We met here as slaves in the service of the vile Snow Witch. We both now hope to return to our villages. I live in the Moonstone Hills, and Stub comes from Stonebridge. If you manage to escape from these infernal caverns, you are more than welcome to come and stay with us. Stonebridge is on the way to my village in the hills. It's also a long way off." Before Red Swift can continue, Stub shouts and points to an orb lying on the floor. It is made of glass, and in the torchlight it seems to glow with swirling colors. "Leave it," commands Red Swift. "We do not need it, and it could be a trap." Yeah, well, that's like everything inside here. If you wish to ignore Red Swift's advice and pick up the orb, turn to 48. I will pick it up because I'm like that. When you pick it up, the orb starts to get warmer and its colors change rapidly and swirl around. Red Swift and Stub back away, telling you to put it down. Will you keep hold of the orb, place it gently on the floor, or throw it down the tunnel? So I'm going to keep hold of it. Determined to discover the secret of the orb, you hold it in your outstretched hands. Its warmth starts to creep up your arms, and soon you are glowing all over and feeling warmer than you have been for weeks. Add 3 stamina points and 1 luck point. So my stamina is now up to 22, and my luck is back at 12. You assure Red Swift and Stub that this orb of energy will warm them too, and they nervously pass it between them. In good spirits, you place the orb back on the floor and continue down the tunnel. Turn to 166. So there we are. Of course, if you throw the orb, it behaves like a grenade, so that's quite scary. Let's see. Let's after walking after walking for another 5 minutes, the tunnel turns sharply right and right again a few meters further on. You soon arrive at a junction, and after a discussion, you decide to turn left rather than continue straight on. So I've turned 259, and this is a point where we got to last time. I got a bit upset because I thought that I wasn't given a choice of what to do now. Placed against the left-hand wall of the tunnel, you see a large iron casket with a brass handle in the shape of a serpent. No one volunteers to open the casket, so you decide to draw lots. Now, I thought this was a bit weird because really you should have been given the option of just ignoring it as well. So I think that's slightly poorly written. But the thing is, if the right person wins the lot, and there is a useful item in there, so no one volunteers to open the casket, so decide to draw lots. Roll 1 dice. So I'm rolling a 2, and I'm turning to 73, and I think that's the wrong roll anyway for the optimum outcome. Unfortunately, you draw the short straw, lose 1 luck point. Lock down to 11 again. As soon as you touch the casket's handle, it comes to life. An asp wraps itself around your hand, and before you can shake it off, it sinks its poisonous fangs into your wrist. Lose 4 stamina points and 1 skill point. So that's pretty bad. And that's why I was a bit annoyed last time, but it's alright. If you're still alive, you manage to stagger down the tunnel down to 20. So now this is where I think I'm going to use a provision. I haven't had to use that many this time, so I'm going to go there and up to 22 stamina. Right, so I'm turning to 20. Staggering to 20. The tunnel soon ends at a T-junction. Stepping into the cross passage, you almost bump into a primitive-looking man wearing furs and carrying a large stone club. He is a caveman. You draw your sword and tell Redswift and Stub head quickly down the right-hand tunnel while you deal with the caveman. So, there we are. You may escape after 2 attack rounds. I think I actually decided that in this case, escaping might actually be a good idea. So 8, 8, and 11, 22. I'm just checking escaping now. I think you just run off, don't you? Let's see. Okay, you get reduce 2 stamina points if you escape, actually. Okay. So maybe not, actually. Right. Right, he rolls 7. I roll an 11, so he's down to 6. He rolls a 5. I roll a 10. Got 4 stamina points. He rolls a 9. I roll a 6. That is a draw. He rolled a 5, I rolled a 9, so he's down to 2, and he rolls a 7, I roll a 6, so he is dead. And I win 141. A pouch on the caveman's belt contains a star-shaped metal disc, which you decide to put in your backpack. Not wishing to meet any more cavemen, you run along the tunnel to catch up with Redswift and Stub. So 365. Okay. The tunnel ends at the door, which swings open before you even touch it. You look into a cavern and are surprised to see Redswift and Stub kneeling in submission to a horrible robed creature with an octopus-like head. 2 of its tentacles are wrapped around your friends' heads, and they are trapped by the hypnotic powers of the Brain Slayer. If you're wearing an amulet of courage, turn to 189. I am indeed wearing an amulet of courage. Thank you very much. The Brain Slayer's disgusting tentacles flail frantically as it tries to draw you towards it. Fortunately, the amulet gives you the courage to resist its attempt to hypnotize you. You draw your sword to attack the foul creature. It releases Redswift and Stub, who fall to the floor, clutching their heads in agony. So this is 10-10 versus my 11-22 still. So that's a harder combat to manage. Let's see how it goes. He rolls a 2. That's a good start. I rolled an 11. It's down to 8. He rolls an 11, and I roll a 10. Well, that's a draw. He rolls a 6. I roll a 9. He rolls a 6. I roll an 11. He rolls a 10, and I roll a 3. Okay, that's fair dues. He rolls a 5. I roll an 8, so he's down to 2 hit points. He rolls a 10, and I roll a 9, so that is a draw again. He rolls a 7. I roll a 4. I'm down to 18 hit points. He rolls a 9. I roll a 10, and he is dead. And so, yes, I'm down to 18 hit points, which means it's probably... Yeah, that's fine. 309, that's where I'm going. As you withdraw your sword from the vile Brainslayer, you hear your two companions groaning as they slowly come round. They explain that the Brainslayer drew them into the cavern and they were powerless to resist. You examine the chamber and see another door in the opposite wall. There are also two clay pots in the recess in the cavern wall, one red and one grey. Let's see. So I am going to yes, I'm going to do both of the pots actually. Starting with the red pot, I guess, 101. Lying at the bottom of the red pot is a square metal disc, which you decide. So I forgot to write that down. So there's a star and a square. Square metal disc, which you decide to put in your backpack. If you now wish to look inside the grey pot, turn to 344. So I'm going to look into the grey pot. Right, so lying at the bottom of the grey pot is an old parchment scroll with an unbroken wax seal. If you wish to break the seal and read the scroll, turn to 224. I suppose I am indeed. As soon as you begin reading the scroll, the writing starts to fade. Roll 2 dice. If the total is same or less than your skill. Yes, it is. Turn to 147. Before the writing fades away, you learn a spell which will protect you against an attack by an air elemental. Add 1 luck point, so my luck is now back to 12, and this is why I didn't choose a potion of fortune this time, because if you do follow the correct path, your luck will be okay. If you follow the wrong path, there are lots of places where you have to test your luck, and then your luck goes down really far. You memorize the words Gul Sang Abi Da'ar, and then decide what to do next. If you have not done so already, you may either look inside the red pot or leave the cabin by the door opposite. So I'm leaving by the door opposite because I have looked at the other pot. The door opens into yet another tunnel, and you begin to wonder whether you will ever find your way out of the caverns of the Snow Witch. You look at Red Swift and Stubb, but they do not appear to be very concerned. The tunnel soon ends at another door, and you notice a dagger sticking out of its oak panelling. If you wish to pull the dagger out of the door, turn to 55. If you would rather open the door, turn to 285. I'll just open the door because that dagger is not very nice. It actually tries to attack you if you pull it out. The door opens into another tunnel which leads off into the distance. Stubb begins to complain about being tired and hungry, so you decide to sit down and rest. If you still have 3 portions of your provisions, you eat 1 yourself and give 1 each to Red Swift and Stubb. So at this point I do have that, and that also means I presume that I get my 4 stamina points. After resting for half an hour, you set off again, and eventually the tunnel ends at a T-junction. If you wish to go left, turn to 298. If you wish to go right, turn to 135. Let's see, where are we now? I want to go left. Turn to 298. The tunnel soon comes to a dead end. An ornate shield hangs from an iron nail on the end wall. If you wish to take the shield, turn to 183. I would wish to take the shield. Thank you very much. As soon as you touch the shield, a howling wind starts to blow down the tunnel towards you, almost knocking the 3 of you off your feet. And you see a whirlwind coming down the tunnel, gathering up all rocks and stones in its path. If the words Gul Sang Abi Da'ar mean anything to you, turn to 253, and that's a spell I just learned as a protection against air elementals. So I'm doing that. Taking the shield has unleashed the fury of an air elemental. Fortunately, you remember the words on the scroll and utter them as the elemental draws near. It disappears as quickly as it appeared, and all is calm again. You sling the shield onto your arm, add 1 skill point, so I'm up to 12 again, and walk together back down the tunnel and past the last junction. Turn to 135. So I'm doing rather well now. I've got skill 12, luck 12, and stamina 22, famous last words. So let's see. Oh, did I look at the wrong number now? Let's see. Oh, hang on. 135 is where I'm going, yes. I was looking for 112 now suddenly. The tunnel ends at another door. An old piece of parchment is pinned on it. There is faded writing on the parchment, but you do not understand the language. Knowing that elves speak many languages, you ask Redswift to try to read it. As he reads, his eyes widen with terror. You ask him what is wrong, but he refuses to reply. We'll come back to this later in the book, actually. He rips the parchment off the door and tears it into tiny pieces. He turns the door handle and says, "Let's get going." And there is no time to lose. You and Stubb look at each other and shrug your shoulders, deciding simply to obey the troubled Redswift. The door opens into another tunnel. After walking down it for a few meters, you come to a place where water is dripping down continuously from stalactites overhead. If you have a shield, turn to 230. I do actually have a shield. Now, it seems in this book there's very often a very short time from finding an item to using it. Sometimes I would have preferred it if they were a bit more distant from each other, because it makes a puzzle a bit more puzzling sometimes. The water looks harmless enough, but you do not wish to get cold and wet. You place the shield over your head and walk under the gentle waterfall. You throw the shield back for your companions to use, and you are soon on your way again. 339. The tunnel runs straight on until it opens out into a cavern. The walls are covered with ice, and a large glass globe stands on an ice plinth in the center. Suddenly an orc runs into the cavern from the tunnel opposite, and the globe immediately starts to radiate light. The outline of a face takes shape in the globe, one which you recognize, the Snow Witch. Her encased head starts to laugh, and then you hear her speak. In a chilling voice she says, "Although you killed me, you have not defeated me. My spirit can still defeat you. Watch carefully." The orc who is standing by the globe grips the metal collar around his neck and cries out, gasping for breath. His green face bulges as he desperately tries to stop the collar tightening. His efforts are futile, and he soon falls silently to the floor. So this is actually the cover image. You can see here the globe with the Snow Witch and the orc grasping his collar, which is tightening around his neck. So that's the cover painting there. The Snow Witch's image sneers contemptuously and says, "I have no use for servants any longer, and I know that two of you are still wearing my obedience collars. I will enjoy watching you die next. As a forerunner to the agony I have in store for your impudent warrior friend, you refuse to watch Redswift and Stubb die helplessly, and you rack your brain to think of a way to overcome the spirit of the Snow Witch. So these are a few options now. Try to smash the globe with your sword, fire an iron ball from your sling at the globe, or try to run through the cavern into the opposite tunnel. And I can't remember now which one I said was the best one. I think using the sling is the one that gives me the best chances. So I will use the sling. You quickly load your sling and aim at the globe. Roll 2 dice, and that's a skill test, and that is automatically a success, but I'll just roll it anyway because that's fun. So that's 282. The iron ball flies straight and true. When it hits the Snow Witch's globe, a bolt of white light shoots out from the globe towards you. Test your luck. So luck 12 now, and so that's also automatic, but now my luck is down to 11. 193, I'm lucky. Let's say 193. You quickly dive onto the floor and watch the energy bolt pass overhead and slam into the cavern wall behind you. 336. You sit up and see that the Snow Witch's globe is cracked, but she appears to have come to no harm. She watches you carefully, ready for your next move. 262. Oh, why is this a nice one? That's a nice picture. Very ominous. As you try to stand up, the Snow Witch concentrates her powers on Redswift and Stubb. Their metal collars tighten and they both clutch their throats as if gasping for breath. You struggle to your feet, yelling insults at the Snow Witch, mocking her cowardly way of dealing with defenseless slaves. You challenge her to a combat of whatever type she wishes. She laughs, saying, Even though I have beaten you, I enjoy games. I will play. She releases her stranglehold on Red Swift and Stub and falls silent, obviously devising some fiendish contest. Suddenly you hear the sound of shuffling footsteps coming from the tunnel opposite. An elf and a dwarf enter the cavern. They look almost identical to Red Swift and Stub, except that their vacant looks and putrid white flesh indicate that they are both zombies. The Snow Witch tells you to fight them while she invents a game for you to play. The zombies lumber forward and you are forced to fight the terrible replicas of your friends. And that's both at the same time. So at 8, 9, 9, 9, and I am at 12, 22. So there we are. So the first one rolls an 8. So that's 16 attack roll. 7, that's 16. And I roll 6. I'm just doing the first one. Actually, I'm doing the elf first because it's got a higher skill. So he's down to 7. So 6, that's 14. 7, that's 16. And I rolled an 8, so that is 18. And he is down to 5. So 7, that is 15, 10, 19, and 7, 19, which means I do not take any damage, nor does he. 7, that is 15, 12, 21, and I rolled 5. That's 17, which means I take 2, 8, 16, 3, 12, 17, so that is down to 3, 9, that's 17, and 5, 14, 12, that is 24, that is 6, that is 14, 8, 17, 7, 19, one of them is dead, and that is a bit easier now. I can do the rest a bit easier. 8 and versus 7, 6, 9, he rolls 6, I roll a 7, he rolls a 7, I roll 3, that is a draw. He rolls a 9, I roll a 10, he's got 1 hit point left. He rolls a 4 and I roll a 6 and he is dead. Well, deader again than before. Right, so if you win, turn to 23. So that is 23, and I'll just make a note of that because it's time for my for changing the clip on my camera again, and also I need a little break to drink some water because my throat is quite dry now. So there we are. I'll be back shortly. Right. The Snow Witch looks surprised and displeased by the defeat of her zombies. Suddenly she says, "The game we are going to play is called Discs. You will not win, of course, but in the unlikely event that you do, I will give you the chance to escape. I hope you have remembered to bring along your discs. Without them you lose." She laughs sadistically at the thought of making up the rules on the spur of the moment. Nevertheless, you must play as directed. If you have any small metal discs, turn to 113. We do have some. Don't have all of them, but you have some of them. The Snow Witch quickly explains the rules of her game. She tells you to choose a disc and conceal it in your clenched fist. She will call out a shape. A square beats a circle beats a star, and a star beats a square. If you win, you will be given a chance to escape. If you lose, you will die. If you both choose the same shape, you will play again. Your life depends on your next decision. Now you must make your choice. Of course, if you do not possess all 3 discs, your choice will be limited. So it's a square, circular, or star. And I'm going with a square, I think. So the first time I played this, I got to this point. I did use a square one. I think that was the right one. Right, so I'm going to 15 using the square disc that I found recently. The Snow Witch stares at you for a long time before calling out, "Circle." You smile and unfold your clenched fist, revealing the square metal disc. You have outwitted her, and she realizes the consequences. The globe starts to fill with white smoke, and suddenly it shatters. The image of the Snow Witch disappears. A shrill cry fills the cavern, but she is defeated. The three of you slap each other's hands in celebration. However, your joy is short-lived as you hear an ominous rumbling. The ground beneath your feet starts to tremble and huge cracks appear in the ice walls. The roof starts to cave in. Is this the chance to escape that the Snow Witch promised? Test your luck. If you're lucky, turn to 3. If you're unlucky, turn to 358. So there we are. That was almost too easy. Just, rock, paper, scissors. So test luck against 11. Yep, we are lucky. And we turn to 3. So let's see, there we are. By some miracle, you are not hit by the heavy chunks of falling ice. When they finally stop crashing around you, you are surprised to see the welcome sight of blue sky above. The three of you waste no time clambering out of the ice cavern, and you find yourselves on the side of the mountain. It is not even snowing, and everything looks tranquil. As you climb down the mountain, you tell your friend about Big Jim's son and the circumstances that led you to enter the caverns of the Snow Witch. You realize that Big Jim would have presumed you were dead. You decide it is not worth chasing after him to collect your reward for killing the Yeti. Isn't it? I mean, that doesn't really go with the character that was established earlier on. He would have wanted the most money possible, so he would want to treasure from the mountain and the money for the Yeti. But, well, there you go. Without any further ado, you agree to accompany Red Swift and Stubb to Stonebridge. Turn to 104. Your journey south is long and arduous, but your determination to leave Icefinger Mountains behind you spurs you on. 2 days after leaving the ice caverns, you reach River Cock. 50 miles upriver lies Fang, the town where Baron Circumvit's notorious death-trap dungeon awaits its challengers each year for the Trial of Champions. However, at this time of year, Fang is unlikely to be more interesting than any other river town. You decide against going there and walk down river to find a bridge or a boatman. After walking for half an hour along the bank of the wide, dirty brown river, you see a man asleep aboard a raft moored to the bank. You shout to him and ask him to ferry you across. He tells you to go away as he is too tired to work today. If you wish to offer him 10 gold pieces to make him change his mind, turn to 315. If you'd rather walk on, turn to 131. And I do believe that walking on seemed to be the best option last time I played. Further along the bank, you find a small wooden boat tied to a tree. You look around, but you cannot see its owner. If you wish to take the boat and row across the river, turn to 26. If you would rather wait for its owner to arrive, turn to 289. I will wait for the owner, actually. I think. Yes, I will wait for the owner. Feeling tired after the strain of recent events, you sit down and rest. Stubb decides to go off to forage for food, and Red Swift begins to make a fire. You drift off into a deep sleep, which your body welcomes. Add 2 stamina points. So that is, let's see, my stamina was 20 now, actually, so that's 22. You are woken up an hour later by the ringing sound of clashing swords. You leap up and see Red Swift engaged in combat with somebody wearing a hooded black cloak. When he turns, you realize he is a dark elf, a natural enemy of Red Swift and his fellow wood elves. You run to help your friend, but you are not needed. With a forward thrust of his sword, Red Swift dispatches it as his adversary. Excuse me. Whose idea was it to wait for the boatman? Asks Red Swift with a wry smile. Refusing to be baited, you suggest that you search through the belongings of the dark elf. A pouch on his belt contains a glass phial filled with a green liquid. Red Swift takes out the stopper and sniffs it, but he does not recognize the smell. If you wish to drink the liquid, turn to 158. If you would rather pour it to the ground, turn to 173. I'm going to drink it because I think I did that last time, and I think that was okay. You breathe in and take a gulp of the green liquid. Feeling no ill effects, you quickly finish it off. Slowly the tiredness and pain in your body fade away and you feel revitalized. You have drunk a potion of health. At 1 skill point, I don't need that at the moment. 4 stamina points. So that's me up to full stamina and 1 luck point. So that is up to 11. Turn to 173. Seems to be going well. It's not long before Stubb returns, laden with nuts, roots, greens, and a fat rabbit. Using a pan he found in the bottom of the boat, he sets about making a delicious stew, while Red Swift brags about his fight with the Dark Elf. Soon you are all enjoying the nourishing meal, telling each other stories and putting the terrible memories of the Snow Witch out of your minds. And 4 stamina points. Well, I would have been fine. Later you climb into the Dark Elf's boat and push off from the bank. It does not take long to reach the other side, and you set off south across the pagan plain for Stonebridge. Turn to 278. Marching quickly across the plain, you do not encounter any evil creatures. To the east, you see the forbidding shape of Firetop Mountain reaching into the sky. Does the warlock still rule the depths of Firetop Mountain? Stubb asks inquisitively. You are just about to reply when you see somebody walking towards you. You draw your sword, but when the person gets closer, you see that it is a little old man carrying a sack over his shoulder. He stops in front of you and says, "Put that sword away. There is no point in killing me. The only thing I have to offer is information, and that costs money. Pay me 2 gold pieces, and you won't regret it." If you wish to pay the old man for his information, turn to 69. If you'd rather ignore him and continue south, turn to 348. I suppose I might as well pay him 2 gold pieces. I got loads. After putting the coins carefully into a hidden pocket, the old man tells you to be careful of 2 things if you are traveling south to Stonebridge. Firstly, the nearest waterhole has been poisoned, and secondly, there are lots of hill trolls gathering to the north of Stonebridge. He bids you good luck and farewell and walks off. Stubb urges you to set off as quickly as possible, worried about the possible attack on Stonebridge by the hill trolls. So 348. The flatness of the plain becomes monotonous and you forget to keep a constant lookout. The reflection of the sun on your armor has attracted a group of flying predators that you do not notice circling above you. They are green with membranous wings, and they swoop down on their prey to kill them with their sharp claws. There are 4 of these birdmen above you, and one of them suddenly lets out a shrill cry and swoops down to attack you. Test your luck. My luck is 11, and I roll a 9, so that is fine. So I'm going to 256. You just managed to draw your sword in time to defend yourself against a diving birdman. It veers away slightly but turns to attack again. Well, that's quite a strong one. 12, 8. Well, it doesn't have a lot of stamina, but it's got a very good skill. Right, so he rolls a 4, and I roll a 12, so he's down to 6. He rolls a 7. I roll a 7, that's a draw. He rolls a 10. I roll a 5, so that's me down to 22. He rolls 11. And I roll 5, so I'm down to 20. He rolls 12. I think I've used up all my good rolls now. I roll 5, so I'm down to 18. He rolls a 9. I roll a 6. I'm down to 16. This guy could kill me, you know. He rolls a 6. I roll a 9. He rolls a 5. I roll a 4. He rolls a 6. I roll a 5. He rolls a 6. And excuse me just 1 moment. Right, terrible timing as usual. Right, I'm not sure if I rolled for this combat run. I'll just do that again. So, Birdman rolls 5. I roll an 8. It's down to 2. He rolls a 10. I roll a 4. So I'm down to 10. He rolls a 9. I roll a 5. He rolls a 5. I roll a 4. He rolls an 8 and I roll 4. He rolls a 7. I roll a 6. I presume I can use as a potion. It doesn't say specifically. It says you can't use a provision during combat, but a potion, surely. So I'm going to use my potion of stamina. And he rolls a 5, and I roll a 10, and he is dead. Well, so I would have managed anyway. So I've used my potion of stamina. And I won. So there we are. That's one of the hardest combats I've had. Well, that's how I got killed by the mammoth the first time as well, isn't it? Sometimes you just get unlucky with the rolls. The other birdmen who were circling above you fly east after seeing the first birdman killed. Frightened that they might return with a huge flock, you decide to run across the plain. The sun is now overhead and you begin to sweat profusely. You become unbearably thirsty and you curse the fact that you have not got a water bottle. You finally reach a water hole, but you feel like screaming when you see the body of an ogre lying face down in the water. If you wish to drink the water, turn to 301. Well, I don't think I want to do that. So I'm going to 63. Your thirst makes you weary, lose 1 stamina, so I'm down to 23. And I go to 96. There we are. So the 3 of you set off to the south, worried about the shortage of water. Stubb tries to offer some comfort by saying that you should reach Stonebridge in less than a day. He says that he is surprised that he hasn't seen any of his fellow dwarfs by now. Oh yes, we have, says Red Swift solemnly, but you won't want to see them like that. He points to a boulder about 50 meters west. The bloodied body of a dwarf lies propped up against it. His head has slumped forward and he is motionless. His axe is still in his hand, and whoever or whatever attacked him cannot be far away. Stubb runs up to the dwarf, wailing in grief. It's Mori the ironsmith, it says. This looks like the work of hill trolls. Let's bury Mori and get to Stonebridge as quickly as possible to tell them this terrible news. Here, take Mori's water bottle. You won't need it now. You gulp down the water and are at last refreshed. Add 1 stamina point so that I'm back to 24. After marking Mori's grave with his axe and helmet, you set off again for Stonebridge. Turn to 110. Let's see. 10. Let's see, it's quite linear at the moment. Night is approaching and you decide to camp in the shelter of some rocks and bushes. Despite Stubb's plea to carry on, you build a fire and settle down to sleep. Red Swift takes the first watch. Test your luck. So luck is now 10, so I'm rolling a 5, so I'm still lucky. 399. I'm not sure what happened there if I'm not lucky. I think I was lucky last time I was here as well. Stubb wakes you up in the middle of the night after completing the second watch. The rest of the night passes peacefully, and in the morning you are able to continue your journey to Stonebridge. Turn to 13. By mid-morning, Stubb has become quite excited, knowing that he will soon be home. Seconds later, the thought of his dead friend Mori depresses him, and he shakes his fist at the unseen hill trolls. An hour later, you see distant wisps of smoke rising into the sky. Stonebridge, yells Stubb. He starts to run ahead of you, but suddenly stops when he sees a party of 6 hill trolls marching towards his village. Screaming a dwarfish battle cry, he raises his axe and charges at them. You cannot leave your friend to fight them on his own and run forward to fight at his side. 2 of the hill trolls turn to fight you. That is both at the same time again, so you've got, that's quite a difficult battle actually, 9, 10 and 9, 9. And up against my 12, 24. Right, so first hill troll, so I've got 3, yeah, so 10, 9, which one I'm attacking first doesn't matter, 10, 9, and I roll 7. So that is, I'm doing the first one, so 10 and 7, so that is a draw actually, and I don't get injured. 3, 9, 8, so that is down to 8. 7, 10, 7. So I'm injuring the first one, but the second one is a draw with me, so he doesn't injure me. 10, 5, 5. So that's the first one injuring me. 4, 6, 7. So I'm down to 4. 8, 3, 7. And that is another hit on the troll. 6, 8, 10. First one is dead. 3, 12. Second one, 5, 6, 6, 6, 10, 3, 12, 8, 6, 6. He's got 1 hit point left. He rolls snake eyes. I roll double 2s, so he is dead, and I've got 18 stamina left. If there's room for that here somewhere. 18, I'll just put it there. Right. 211 for winning. Oof. It's quite some hard battles here. I think, yeah. I think I'll just have a provision as well now. Let's get my stamina up to 22. Stubb's desire for revenge spurs him on, and he quickly defeats 2 of the hill trolls. And then helps Red Swift dispatch the remaining 2. He does not stop to search through the troll's belongings, but heads straight for Stonebridge. You follow him into the village, where he is greeted by all his old friends. However, you soon discover that an air of gloom hangs over the dwarfs. Even though they know that the hill trolls are gathering to attack their village, they have lost their will to defend themselves since their fabled warhammer was stolen from King Gillibrand. Stubb is concerned by their loss of morale and takes you to the inn to meet his friend Bigleg. Now, I think there's the stolen warhammer. That is the plot, I believe, of The Forest of Doom, book number 3. So I presume that's a tie-in with the other story there. He learns from Bigleg that an eagle took the warhammer but dropped it over Darkwood Forest. Yeah, there it is. Then we must find it. Bigleg, we must leave immediately, says Stubb, forgetting his own troubles. He stands up and extends his hand to you, saying, well, friends, I'm sorry, but I will not be able to offer you our hospitality after all. I hope you understand. He walks out of the inn with Bigleg, and that is the last that you see of the jolly old dwarf. Red Swift sighs and suggests that the 2 of you leave for Moonstone Hill straight away. Besides, he says, he has something important to tell you, and in a way it is fortunate that Stubb will not be around to hear what he has to say. Intrigued by Red Swift's words, you leave Stonebridge, heading east along the bank of Red River, while keeping a lookout for hill troll patrols. You cannot help wondering what it is that Red Swift has to tell you. Hidden among the trees to your left, Red Swift suddenly spots 3 hill trolls sharpening their weapons on stone. Test your luck. And my luck is now 9. Yep. 10. So I'm not lucky. I go to 296. One of the hill trolls looks up and sees you walking by. He gives a cry of alarm, and the 3 of them run out of the trees to attack. You have to fight 2 of them. Oof. Again. So 8, 9, 9, 9. So I'm fighting the second one first. And I got 12, 22. Okay, so first one rolls an 11. So he's 4 ahead. So that's like 7. Yeah, so that is me hitting the second one. Further 3, 6, 6, 10, 9. That's 2 hits on me actually, so that is 18, yeah. He rolls an 8, he rolls a 9, 10, 9, 6, 8, 8, 4, 7, and that is the first one down. 8, 7, 5, 4, 4, 5, 10, 5, and that is another hit on me. 9, 9, got 1 left, and 7, snake eyes, 8, snake eyes, twice in a row. 5, 6, and he is dead. I'm going to 164. You find a magnificent sword clenched in the hand of one of the dead trolls. You unbend its fingers and take the finely crafted weapon. Its edge is keen, and without any effort you slice through a nearby branch. Add 1 skill point. Can't do that. Redfoot urges you to hurry in case there are more trolls nearby, but I've still got time to eat a provision because I'm not in combat, so I'm at 12. Am I going... I don't think I know of any places you get more stamina coming up, so I'm just going to read the rest of my provisions now and get my stamina back up to 24 for the last time. So I'm not turning to 38. So this is, even though it is quite cool walking along the bank of the Red River, it's quite cool, isn't it? Yeah, it's quite cool. You start to sweat and feel dizzy. You look at Red Swift, and he too looks far from well. His face is white and his eyes look dark and sunken. Sit down, says Red Swift in a laboured voice. You gratefully stop and collapse onto the grass, quite worried now as your heart is beating very fast. Do you remember walking through the caverns of the Snow Witch and arriving at a door with a piece of parchment nailed to it? You could not understand what was written on it and asked me to read it. It was a death spell, and we are now both doomed. It is starting to work on us sooner than I expected. We have to find the old man of the hills that they call the healer. Only he can save us now, but I fear it may be too late already. Ooh, nice twist, this one. My legs are so weak I don't know if I'll be able to stand again. If you drank the potion of health that belonged to the Dark Elf, turn to 30. We did not drink this potion, turn to 367. So actually, if you didn't drink it, I presume you might actually just die now. I'll just check that out. That is quite interesting, actually. Yes. So, having drunk that potion, that is why it's so important to go. Right. I suppose it had to happen at some point. The clip ended. I had to go back and see where I actually left off. So, sorry about that. And also the camera lost its zoom setting as well. It's very annoying. Not supposed to do that. So, right. The death spell is not working as quickly as on you as it is on Red Swift. You help him to his feet, apologizing that you made him read the infernal spell. It tells you not to worry about it. He was as good as dead anyway as a slave in the ice caverns. You managed to struggle on for another hour, carrying poor Red Swift on your back. Suddenly his fingers dig into your arm and then his whole body relaxes. The death spell has won. After burying your elfin friend in the leafy glade, you set off as quickly as you can towards the Moonstone Hills. But you are weak and cannot walk very fast. Lose 1 skill point and 1 stamina point. I've already done that on my character sheet now. Because I did go a little bit further before I realized my camera was off. The ground becomes steeper as you approach the foothills, and you wonder which way you should go to find the healer. If you wish to continue east following the river into the hills, turn to 46. If you would rather cross the river by the rope bridge ahead of you and walk south along the base of the hills for a while, turn to 385. And I think last time I played this, I went east, and that didn't seem like the best choice. I'm going to go 385. Now, I already did this, and there's a luck roll, and I managed to So you feel yourself growing weaker by the minute, lose 1 stamina point. I've already done that. Let's see. And yes, had you see a gorge running east between 2 hills and you decide that you may as well walk up it in the hope of finding the healer. Halfway up the left-hand side of the gorge, you see the entrance to a cave. If you wish to climb up to the cave, turn to 170. If you want to keep walking, I want to keep walking. That is what I chose last time. And I think that's... Yes. You get very tired walking up the gorge and do not pay attention to where you are treading. You accidentally step on a rattlesnake, which strikes at you with its deadly fangs. Test your luck. And I did test my luck. And I was lucky. I'm going to 350. Yes, that's where I was, actually. The rattlesnake bites the leg of your boot and empties its poison harmlessly onto the hardened leather. With one swipe of your sword, you cut off its head and continue your trek up the gorge. Turn to 252. Right. And this is where I haven't been before. You see a rope ladder hanging down from one of the trees on the left side of the gorge. Looking up, you can just make out the frame of a wooden hut, almost hidden among the branches. If you wish to climb up the ladder to the treehouse, turn to 398. If you'd rather continue up the gorge, turn to 92. I think I should go and check out the treehouse. I'll check out the treehouse. Ah, that's where you get this charming fellow. As you climb the rope ladder, you hear the noise of shuffling feet on the platform above you. You climb through a hole in the platform, but you are not greeted by the healer. You have intruded into the hideaway of a vicious man-orc. You draw your sword as it reaches for its axe. So we have here 8-6 versus my 11-22. Right. So he rolls 7, I roll 9, he is down to 4. He rolls 10, I roll 9, he is down to 2. He rolls 3, that's very good, and he is dead. And I win and turn to 342. I'm feeling I'm getting closer to the end here now. It's been very linear, actually, most of the way here. The last bit. The only items you find that might be of use are a candle and a tinderbox. Okay, I'll take them. You take them and climb back down the ladder to continue walking east up the gorge. Turn to 92. You walk around the large boulder and see a huge man sleeping in the shade. He is lying on top of some animal skin, snoring loudly. His two-handed battle axe lies propped up against the boulder. He is a barbarian. And it would be foolish to wake him up, yeah, I suppose. So you decide to tiptoe past him. If you're wearing elfin boots, turn to 128. If you're wearing ordinary boots, turn to 374. Now, this is where, if you remember, in the dungeon there was the casket with the asp handle. And if you are the one chosen drawing the short straw and choosing to open it, you just get bitten by the asp, and that's you. If the elf draws the short straw, he actually can open it and get the elfin boots out of the casket. And once they're out, you also draw lots again of who of you is going to get them. So if you manage to get the elfin boots, that's a 1 in 9 chance of getting those. So I haven't got those. I'm wearing ordinary boots, 374. Which means I have to fight this guy. Doesn't he look a bit like Conan or something? Barbarians are used to people creeping up on them, and the noise of your boots on the stony ground wakes him up. Barbarians also fight first and ask questions later. He jumps up and grabs his battle axe to attack you. So he's got 9, 8. I'll just use the same space there, because I'm running out of space on my sheet of paper now. So he rolls an 8, I roll 5, he hits me. He rolls a 10, I roll a 5. So if I die now, I'll probably just continue, because I think I'm getting rather close, and it would be a shame to stop once I'm this close to the end. So 9 and 2, 7, 4. That is a draw. 7 and 4. That is a draw again. 12, 11. Yeah, well, that's good. So I win and I go to 286. The variant's only interesting possessions are an engraved copper armband and a leather pouch containing 3 silver arrowheads. You take the arrowheads and look at the engraving on the armband. On it, you can just read the word "Strength is power." If you wish to wear the armband, turn to 293. I think I'll wear the armband because strength is power, isn't it? Ah, yes. Brilliant. The armband is charmed with magical power. Add 1 skill point. So I'm back to 12 finally. And you realize you must hurry up the gorge before the death spell runs its fatal course. Turn to 319. I also got some silver arrowheads, which might be useful. I don't know. To your right, you see a huge slab of rock. Carved into it is the head of a fabulous bird surrounded by flames. Rough steps lead up the side of the rock slab to the mouth of a cave. If you wish to enter the cave, turn to 75. If you'd rather keep on walking up the gorge, turn to 161. And I think maybe Phoenix Bird rising. Oh, that sounds like a cave I want to go into. I want to rise from the ashes, don't I? Okay. Peering into the cave, you see that it runs deep into the side of the hill. Torches cast an eerie light inside the cave, illuminating wooden carvings and masks that are hanging on the walls. You step inside and see a robed figure sitting on the floor with its back to you. Without turning round, the mysterious person says, "I am the healer. If you have come to be healed, stand before me now." Your heart beats faster as you walk over to stand in front of him. Before you is a man who is horribly disfigured. His body is terribly twisted, but he sits there proudly, although pain registers on his face. You tell him that you have been cursed with a death spell and have come to be cured. The healer nods his head and says, "The power of a death spell is difficult to destroy. I've only managed to break it once, and it wasn't easy. A ritual has to be performed, which you might not survive. Still, you must try. I will help you as much as I can. First, you must place a mask of life over your face to halt the spread of the death spell. If you survive the initial battle between life and death, you will be able to face the second stage of the reversal process." The healer then takes the strange mask off the wall, carved to symbolize the sun. As you place it over your face, you feel as though your body is being torn apart. Roll 1 die and subtract that number from your stamina score. So my stamina was 14. So 14 minus 1, okay, that's good. 13. If you're still alive, I am indeed. 258. I'm going to... A healer walks over to you and puts his hands on your forehead. He mutters some strange words and stands back, saying, "Later stages of the reversal process are also dangerous, but the danger can be reduced if you possess certain things. My help from now on will be limited, as you will have to journey to another place to break the death spell completely. Please follow me." The healer walks further into the cave, leading you to the edge of a pit. There is almost no light, and you have to strain your eyes to see the outline of the healer moving about. A log spans the pit before you, and you must cross it to reach the inner cave. It will obviously be easier to cross it if you can see where you're going. Well, obviously. "Do you have a candle?" asks the healer. If you possess a candle and tinderbox... Oh, I just picked those up, didn't I? Turn to 54. So that was useful. You light the candle and look across the pit. It is about 15 meters wide and the log is quite narrow. The healer tells you to walk across it as soon as you are ready. Roll 2 dice. That's a skill check, and my skill was just back up to 12 again, wasn't it? So that is an automatic. I'll just roll anyway, because I like rolling dice. There we are, 8. Turn to 91. Walking slowly and carefully, you reach the other side of the pit, much to your relief. The healer walks casually across the log as though the pit was not there. "Good," he says. "Now you must prepare yourself for the next stage. In order to survive, you must be totally calm." If you have a dragon's egg, I can make you a relaxing concoction. Oh, I do have dragon's eggs. If you possess a dragon's egg, turn to 359. If you're not carrying a dragon's egg, turn to etc. So 359. Who doesn't like a dragon's egg? Huh? Makes a nice omelette. The healer takes the egg from you and breaks off the top of the shell. He takes some powder out of a pendant hanging around his neck and pours it into the egg. After stirring it with a stick, he hands it to you, telling you to drink it. You swallow the raw egg concoction, trusting the healer's knowledge. He then tells you to walk ahead of him. Turn to 154. Ooh, that's another nasty one. You suddenly hear a woman howling terribly in the depths of the cave. Her mournful wail rises to a horrible, bitter scream. The healer whispers to you that the cries come from a banshee, a hideous spectre whose face and hands are shriveled and who only has one large nostril and a single tooth. He tells you that if you walk by her without fear, you will come to no harm. Do not speak to her, touch her, or even acknowledge her presence. She cannot harm you if you obey my instructions. I will be right behind you, but do not worry about me, the healer says calmly. You walk further into the cave until the dreaded banshee comes into view. She looks even worse than the healer's description, with her red-rimmed eyes and stooping posture. You try to remain calm, but feel the blood racing through your veins. She stands immediately in front of you as you try to walk by, letting out the most doom-laden howl you have ever heard in your life. You are tempted to look into her face and cut her down with your sword. If you have drunk the dragon's egg concoction, turn to 5. Now, at this point, I would have liked to point out that I do have an amulet of courage, and surely that should have worked here too. Maybe Ian Livingstone forgot about that when he got to this point, but no, I just thought I'd point it out. You instinctively clutch the hilt of your sword as the healer's words of warning echo through your mind. Roll 2 dice, so that's a skill check again. Well, it's a bit disappointing actually having 12 skill now because it seems less risky. I rolled an 8, so I would have made it anyway. Turn to 68. Between our screams, the banshee tells you that you are going to die. However, the healer's concoction enables you to resist the temptation to draw your sword to silence her, and you manage to pass by her unharmed. Turn to 90. The healer is right behind you, urging you to hurry through the cave. You walk on in silence until you see sunlight streaming through a crack at the end of the cave. You see that the crack is just wide enough for you to squeeze through, and you ask the healer, "What will happen next?" He calmly replies, "This is as far as I go. The final part of your ordeal you must face alone. Wearing your mask, you must be at the summit of Firetop Mountain before dawn to watch the sunrise. You must sit cross-legged, facing east. You will be totally cured the moment the first rays of sunlight come up over the horizon. If you have something made of silver, we will be able to attract a Pegasus to fly you there." Well, I did pick up some silver arrowheads, didn't I, from the barbarian? So maybe it was a good thing that he woke up then. It was in silver, turned to 328, so maybe having the elf boots wouldn't be the greatest thing after all. You hand the healer your silver object. He throws it through the crack and whistles loudly through his fingers. A few moments later, you hear the noise of flapping wings outside and see the healer smile briefly. Just out of character for a moment there. Silver. There was a silver ring, wasn't there, in the caverns? And although I do know it has some ill effects, maybe there is a certain small chance that might be worth picking up. I'm not 100% sure, though. I think it might not be, but worth looking into if you're playing this game. I will certainly look into it myself before I do my next episode. Tie the silver to its mane and command it to take you to Firetop Mountain. That's a beautiful. That's a stunning picture, isn't it? No, I wouldn't mind the original of that one. A Pegasus will fly you anywhere for silver. This is where we say goodbye. Good luck. I hope you make it. You shake the healer's hand, thanking him over and over again. So much for social distancing, huh? Then, waving goodbye, you squeeze through the crack into the daylight. Before you stands a magnificent beast. It looks like a white stallion, but it has wings. tie the silver to its mane and climb onto its back. You chart your destination, and suddenly you are flying through the air, clinging onto the neck of the mighty Pegasus. It is not long before you reach the mountain and land safely on the summit, which is covered in strange red vegetation. You jump down from the Pegasus and watch it fly off into the distance. You sit down and rest and wait for sunrise. Turn to 217. The red leaves all around you emit a sweet smell which you find very pleasant. You feel very relaxed and suddenly have trouble keeping your eyes open, even though it is only early evening. You're unaware that you are lying on sleeping grass. You sink into a deep sleep full of vivid and exciting dreams. Night falls and time passes by, but you cannot wake up. The moon drifts slowly across the clear night sky until dawn is only minutes away. A tiny image disturbs your dreams, but it is difficult to make out. It grows steadily larger until the flashing image fills your mind. A bird with a long beak and fine plumage is trying to fly out of a circle of flames. A healer is trying to wake you. If you can focus your mind and remember the name of this bird, which is a symbol of the healer's power, your dreams will end and you will be able to rouse yourself. If you believe the bird to be a phoenix, well, obviously it is, turn to 146. If you believe the bird to be a griffin, turn to 228. Well, it's a phoenix. Griffin isn't really a bird anyway. As everyone knows. The image of the bird fills your mind while you are still asleep. You sit up and shout the word phoenix at the top of your voice. You wake up startled, wondering why it is dark. Then you realize that you have been asleep for hours and that the sun will rise at any moment. Adjusting your sun mask, you turn to face east, hardly daring to blink in case you miss the first rays of sunshine. A red glow appears on the horizon, and then you see the sun slowly creep up into view. You are cured of the death spell. Turn to 400. Hey! I'm turning to 400. Ooh, I like turning to 400. Ooh, that is 400 here as well. It is the beginning of a beautiful day, a day which is probably going to be the most enjoyable of your life. The spirit, I'm not sure about that. The spirit of the evil Snow Witch has been destroyed and you are cured of her terrible curse. As you climb down the mountain, you think about the kind, unselfish healer and of your friends, Red Swift and Stub. You are suddenly eager to meet a jolly old dwarf again and set off towards Stonebridge as fast as you can, hoping that he will have returned from Darkwood Forest. You have earned yourself a welcome rest, although whether or not you will get it is another story. So there we are. The hero heads to Darkwood Forest and goes back a few books to Forest of Doom, presumably. Well, that's it, actually. I won the game. I did not die. I did not have to cheat. I used my stamina potion, and I was very close to death. And I'm not sure if this is the optimum path through the book, but I will certainly look into that when I finish my mapping of the game, and I will do my usual aftermath episode where I calculate the chances of winning this game. I think that the chances of winning this game are actually quite high. What isn't easy in this book, however, is to find the right path to win, because I noticed in the beginning as well, if you're missing one item or two items, some items, you die. If you take a wrong turn, you might die, and there's some if you go out of the path a little bit, there are more luck rolls without any chance of regaining luck. So I think that there are many paths in this book that actually will lead you to death. But once you know the right path, it doesn't seem that difficult to get through it. So there you have it, Caverns of the Snow Witch, and by Ian Livingstone, Fighting Fantasy book number 9. And is this my 4th run through, is it? 5th? I've lost count, actually, because it's been a few weeks, and also there was one I wasn't able to keep the video of. So in any case, thanks for watching. If you have watched all the way through, I really commend your patience, because that is quite impressive, watching a full episode of a playthrough with me. They are quite long, but the thing is, I don't want to rush things. I'm going to do it properly, and I think that's enjoyable for me, and hopefully it's enjoyable for some people to watch as well. And I'll see you next time with an Aftermath episode, unless I do something else in the meantime, which I might do. But if fighting fantasy is your thing, then of course the Aftermath episode of Caverns of the Snow Witch will probably be your next episode of mine that you will watch. So there you go. Thanks for watching again, and stay safe, wash your hands, and keep your social distancing rules, because in these times that may keep you alive to fight the Snow Witch another day. Bye for now.